All right, so Joey lines on burn. That's going to be a tough one for TJ, I believe. The blue-red deck is very low to the ground, but those creatures kind of run headfirst into things like Searing Blaze, and burn usually preys on fair opponents that are trying to interact and just goes upstairs with all those lava spikes. So it might be a tough one for TJ here.
Yeah, this is a matchup where you would very much prefer to have the Murktide Regents, a card that can end the game really quickly.
Oh, not one that dies to Eidolon of the Great Rebel, huh?
Yeah. So, yeah, a little bit punishing here in this round one matchup for TJ's choice of deck. Looking at Joey's list, I see actually going with the newer lists that are cutting Eidolon. That is good for the Underworld Breach player.
Agreed.
But does have 2 Roiling Vortex in the main deck.
Oh, that's cool. I guess that's like something to prevent, the Cascade decks from going off, because you get to deal them damage for playing their spells for free.
Yeah. Stops a life gain on
Omnath and such. Yeah, I like it. So Rolling Vortex is the tech here from Joey. But it seems like both these players are ready to go, and we're going to have all those graphics and stuff ready in just a moment, and we'll let them be on their way. Here we go. Turn 1. Joey line's going to start off with Mountain into the classic Goblin Guide foil old art. Love the border on that. Odoar the reveal for TJ, but down to 18, and we're back his way.
Yeah, notably TJ's list, because he's not playing Murktide Regent, he's playing this more grindy strategy, also not playing Counterspell.
Okay. In order to play Gigantha, you can't.
Yeah.
Is there some sort of counter magic in that spot, like Mana Leak or something?
So no 2-mana counters, has a lot of 1-mana counters. That could be really helpful in this matchup. 3 copies of Spell Pierce in the main, has a Spell Snare, and a Minder Misstep. So 5 1-mana counter spells going to be very important for TJ in this matchup. And because we're not playing all these, multi-blue cards, can afford to play a basic Mountain, and that's really important here. We see the fetch on turn 1 only taking the 1 damage to answer this turn 1 Goblin Guide.
All right, so Goblin Guide did get in 2 damage, but it gave TJ a card. Lightning Bolt does take it down for the trade, and that effectively undoes TJ's mulligan. See if Joey has another threat to play here. For now, just suspending Rift Bolt. Gonna go fetching as well.
Yeah, these newer burn lists, only 8 creatures, so once you deal with the first one, you're usually in the clear and just worrying about them going to the face.
Wow, new follower. Thanks, Cheese and Wine Pairing. Appreciate you. If you're in the chat and haven't hit the follow button already, make sure to do so. These 5K, 2K weekends are going to be a regular thing, and Ross Mayer and myself will be bringing you coverage. Here's a Lava Spike from Joey Lunge, and that's going to send TJ down to 14 with a Rift Bolt suspended. His life total, not in jeopardy yet, but getting pretty close.
Yeah, and unfortunately, his list just not very apt at, clocking his opponent very quickly, and that's really important in this matchup. And you see that even with that turn 2 threat, Ledger Shredder is so unimportant for Joey, doesn't even fire the Rift Bolt at the creature. Instead says, no, I want to go upstairs.
Appreciate John for the sub. So Joey Lund's here, we're going back his way. Has Rift Bolt gone upstairs? That's 1 spell cast. Any spell cast here from Joey will be the 2nd spell and trigger the Connive on the Ledger Shredder. Gonna go Skewer the Critics, probably upstairs.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to aim this one at the Shredder, because TJ's got the Connive trigger.
All right, so 3 damage to TJ. That's gonna put him down to 8.
What TJ really needs, because Shredder is too low of a clock, he needs his red creatures. Dragon's Ridge Channeler is a 1-mana, 3 power. Once you get Delirium, can really clock the opponent. And Ragavan gives you the ability to hold up some of these counter spells while casting your iterations. It can also, here's the high roll scenario in this matchup, is get a Lightning Helix off the top of your opponent's deck. And that is a delight.
All right, another burn spell thrown at TJ's face. That is Lightning Bolt, Skewer the Critics, Rift Bolt, all in the same turn. TJ down to 5 before he plays his 3rd land on turn 3. Leads off with Expressive Iteration. It's going to go digging for some help. Finds Lightning Bolt, a land, and another Ledger Shredder. This is probably not going to be good enough. However, if TJ has some sort of 1-mana counterspell, he could potentially stifle Joey's next turn. It'll just be interesting to see how Joey wants to sequence and if TJ has the right answer.
Yeah, I don't think there's a counterspell in TJ's hand.
I think there's a Minor Misstep, but that doesn't look great against Lightning Helix or Boros Charm. All right, puts a Fluttershy off to the side. Probably Lightning Bolt in hand. Yeah. Couple lands, a Darcy, a Lightning Bolt.
I think TJ's got to just play.
What, Steam Vents tapped?
No, he's got to play another spell. Yeah, so he plays the Islet, go to 4, play my DRC.
Okay.
I can at least survive 1 burn spell. unless it's a Boros Charm.
All right, gets a connive here. Gonna go discarding. Has a couple lands to discard, but that'll make the Ledger Shredder stay small. It's gonna bang for 1, putting Joey down to just 16 life. Let's see if Joey can close it out. Shields are down for TJ. Needs 4 points.
Looks like a Lightning Helix and Inspiring Vantage in hand.
Yep.
And what's the other card?
Probably a 2-minute thing, or else this would be over already. And that's Boros Charm.
Yeah, okay.
Just has it. And TJ down a game here against Burn. Joey Lunds takes game 1 in easy fashion. That's what you want to do as a Burn player, right? You get in a little bit of damage with your creature, force your opponent to interact. If they don't, those creatures do a ton of damage. If you do interact, they just start throwing all the burn at the face and hope that you don't have counter spells or life gain. And easy peasy there for game number 1 for Joey Lunds.
Okay, looking at TJ's sideboard, we do have the Gigantha Companion. There's also 2 copies of Flusterstorm that will be excellent in the matchup.
Yes, agreed.
2 Abrade. I don't really like that, especially against the Creature Light version here, though I'm not sure if TJ knows there's no Eidolon.
He may want more removal to handle Eidolon, because Eidolon is such a powerful threat against the deck, even though there's none there.
Yeah, has 2 Dress Down, 2 Mystical Dispute, 2 Orvar, the All Form. Not a fan in this matchup. 2 Engineered Explosives. They could come in, they're good against the creature heavy draws from the burn deck. Can also answer a Roiling Vortex that he otherwise can't, so that's a consideration. I like it more than a Braid, but the last card I'm looking in the sideboard that normally you wouldn't think would be good against burn, but I kind of like here, 2 copies of Blood Moon.
Okay.
Sometimes just shutting your opponent out of casting Boros Charms and Lightning Helixes can be the difference. And with TJ's build of the deck, I think you need to go for something like Blood Moon, because you don't have those counter spells that most Murktide lists have.
Yeah. All right, so on the other side of things, Joey Lunds is going to be playing a burn. Let's take a look at his sideboard and see if there's anything that can make his matchup a little bit better, though it seems like it's pretty good so far.
Yeah, does have the 3rd and 4th copies of Roiling Vortex if he wants those. 2 Smash to Smithereens, 2 Wear Tear aren't going to be great here. 2 Orvar, the All Form, also staying in the board. 2 Path to Exile. Given that the Gigantha's revealed, there's no Murktide region. I think that's the only card you would want Path for. And 2 Deflecting Palm, same thing. Palm would only be good against Murktide. Does have 3 copies of Sanctifier and Vec.
Okay.
That could be a very interesting one, because it can stop, make it very difficult to get Delirium. It can, block Ragavans all day long. Very difficult to answer. So I could see Sanctifier coming in, which is another reason that TJ might want those Engineered Explosives.
All right, we're here for game number 2. Appreciate Ross giving us the insight to the sideboards. TJ is going to be on the play, Spire Bluff and a go. Joey Lunds, no creature, just going for the Lava Spike. And here we do have a counterspell from TJ to stop it. So life total still healthy at 20.
Yeah, love just trading with that Spell Pierce as quickly as you possibly can.
All right, we're going here for turn 2. Joey Lunds. Does he have a play? No, just a passing of the turn. Going to probably start firing off those instant speed burn spells. TJ going to fetch Flutterstrand down to 19, first damage.
Yeah, it's a much better start here for TJ to just get the trade on turn 1. Doesn't take any damage. Has an iteration for next turn, but no threat again. Would have been really nice for him to have something like a DRC or a Ragavan to follow up.
Does have Consider end of turn, so able to use the mana. That's going to leave a small window for Joey Lunds to resolve something like Boros Charm here to get max damage. But I think TJ is kind of okay with that. He needs to be able to cast the spells, and he might not even have a counterspell active for this Boros Charm. So
yep. So just takes 4, goes to 15.
All right, another Consider on top. Gonna Bennett, finds Ledger Shredder. That's exactly what you want. Now let's see if he can turn on the Connive this turn and get it up to 4 toughness so it dodges all those spot removal burn spells.
Yeah, unfortunately just has a pretty land heavy draw, so even if you wanted to do something like fire off the lightning bolt after Shredder to get a Connive trigger, just bolt upstairs, you wouldn't really want to discard that expressive iteration or any spell you draw off the top. So we'll probably just see a Shredder and a pass of the turn here from TJ.
All right, fetching a basic mountain is TJ Razak. This kind of leads me to believe that there's no Blood Moon in the deck. He probably would have fetched Islands if that were the case. And probably just going to Ledger Shredder and hold up a spell. Pass the turn would be my guess. All right, back Joey's way. Turn number 3. TJ still at a healthy 14. No counter spells in hand from what I can see, though. But that expressive iteration can change that next turn.
Yeah, it effectively has 7 counterspells in the deck post board, had 5 in the main, and has 2 Flusterstorms coming in. Might have even brought in Mystical Dispute, thinking a 3-mana Mana Leak is better than something else in his main.
All right, here's the expressive iteration. No play from Joey's side. TJ is going to find a Spell Pierce to go to hand and a Consider to go off to the side. That's going to allow him to connive. We'll see if he wants to discard a land or spell. Going to go ahead and fetch. Probably basic island to cast the Consider. Wants to protect his life total a little bit.
So that leaves him at 13. There's already a Boros Charm that's been fired off, so unless there's a second one from Joey coming soon, and he does have a Pierce potentially for it, is going to need 5 burn spells in order to die. So in a reasonable spot here. It's another Shredder.
I would probably discard Unholy Heat. I think with the Bolt, you kind of have the removal rolled up for those creatures, and the other Ledger Shredder can maybe shrink the clock for your opponent over
completely
the next
agree.
couple turns.
There's
Mine's
another
Lightning
Bolt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Cooking.
We got something going.
Seems like a pretty easy attack for 2. You have to pressure. Decides not to, though. Gonna hold back just to protect from Goblin Guides and such.
Got to attack.
I think so too. So this Lightning Helix, though, can ruin some racing scenarios. So if I were TJ, I'd probably go ahead and counter it.
Yep. Yeah, just fired off. Your opponents also might get to 4 mana next turn, and your Spell Pierce could be pretty dead. And we do see, I think, at least 2 more lands in hand for Joey Lunds.
That's good news for TJ.
Looks like the Path to Exile. No, that's Sanctifier in back. The white card.
Yeah, that one isn't as great against the old Ledger Shredder, but it is fine against the Lightning Bolts. That just means that we're going to be in a blocking situation.
Can't tap Mountain for that one.
It's mostly inconsequential. We'll get it fixed, though. You know, he has plenty of colored mana. Just a moment. Oh, it looks like a Deflecting Palm in there. That's pretty scary.
I don't know if you've ever seen Burn Player sideboard, but they're incapable of not bringing it. Comes in every single matchup.
Are you a Deflecting Palm truther? Are you a big fan, or do you think it's garbage?
I used to play Burn quite a bit, and I would sideboard 1 and very rarely bring it in. Okay. I am not a big fan.
All right, well, here's the Sanctifier Invect. This connects all the red cards from TJ's graveyard, as well as any future cards. It has protection from red as well, so there's no way for TJ to actually get it off the table outside of bouncing it with Otawara, I believe. But that's okay. It gets blocked pretty nicely by the second Ledger Shredder, and then the first Ledger Shredder can maybe start attacking.
Yeah, could have Engineered Explosives to answer it too, but with these 2 Shredders on the battlefield, that's probably not great.
All right, so we're going to sequence this in such a way where the bigger Ledger Shredder resolves first, finds Underworld Breach. That's a pretty easy discard here.
Oh, yeah, because of the Sanctifier.
All right, and I think this Unholy Heat's a nice discard as well. And they're both going to get a counter. Now we're going to probably start attacking with one of them after this expressive iteration resolves. Forgot that was even still on the stack.
2 Ragavans and a Shredder. So, yeah, we'll just take a 3rd Shredder. The Ragavans don't do a whole lot against the Sanctifier. And now we got to start getting in, TJ.
I think so, too. It feels like a Ragavan able to be cast as well, which is going to force Joey to just, like, hold the Sanctifier back on defense. Looks like maybe we're going to go ahead and fire off this Deflecting Palm just to get 3 damage to face and prevent 3. I like it.
Perfectly reasonable. Given that Joey's low on cards and pretty high on lands, I might wait a turn on that and finesse it by a Pierce or a Flusterstorm potentially.
He's already gone through a couple of those 1-mana things. I kind of agree with you, but Deflecting Palm is like in a weird spot where you kind of just need to play it when your opponent's dealing you damage, because at some point they might be able to play around it by just not attacking you. But all right, here's 3 more damage and some prevented.
That Deflecting Palm should be exiled, though I don't think it matters.
Yeah, agreed.
Oof, and there's a Lightning Helix off the top. All great cards in these racing scenarios for Joey. Multiple Helixes and a Palm.
Sunbait Canyon's a good land to have, though, when you're a little bit flooded, so we could turn that into a spell in a minute. Depends on if Joey wants to go ahead and fire off these burn spells, or if he wants to wait until TJ's lower on cards. But looks like now is the perfect time. Boros Charm, down to 6. TJ.
The second Boros Charm, very punishing. Now only needs 1 more counterspell after this Helix.
I don't love doing the Helix right now.
Yeah.
I would have loved to do that on upkeep. This is going to allow for a couple connives.
Is that a bauble?
I believe it is a bauble, ledger shredder, and 2 lightning bolts.
Yep. Even if we discard 2 spells to these shredders, and then we bolt, discard 2 spells, then we've got a 5 and a 4. That's still 1 short. Because we'll attack for 9 and send 6 upstairs. Tough. So if you're TJ, you've got to try to find.
Are you counting the double connive next turn after the double bolt? Like maybe that's enough.
I am.
Oh, so max was 15.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
There's a land, so we're below max anyway. And you've got to worry about the sanctifier, though. At this point, 1 sanctifier hit doesn't make a big difference. You have another haste creature off the top covered with a bolt.
Well, Breach doesn't let him play bolts from the graveyard, but could use it to play some Considers or Mishra's Baubles from the graveyard.
Yeah, I think we got a bauble. Check the top from Joey. See if it's a burn spell.
You know, that's a good point. Now, the Sunbaked Canyon might throw that off slightly, but I don't mind just going ahead and firing off a bauble regardless.
So we could just go Breach, Consider, pitch the bauble, then replay it from the graveyard with the Breach. I kind of like that better because it can keep more cards in your hand.
Uses a little more mana, though. Now he can just play bauble a bunch instead. Maybe find a counter spell or something to do. All right, we got 2 connives coming. There's a 3rd bolt, but we got to discard 1.
Yeah, if we had just kept that 3rd bolt. Oh, Joey's at 19.
Oh, you gained 3 from the lightning helix. So there was no way to kill last turn anyway. Okay.
Yeah. We could have potentially kept that 3rd bolt and had Joey dead next turn.
Okay, so here comes a Consider. Personally, I like doing this less than just doing a bunch of baubles, because you might draw, Flusterstorm or something, and I don't know. Maybe it's better to just Consider because you dig deeper.
Yeah, and as long as you have the mana, which you do here. So another bauble after bidding a land. I don't think you don't want to tap the Islet. So you probably don't want to Consider anymore. Now it's all baubling. Now checks his top card with that bauble because he already knows the top card of Joey's deck.
Get Underworld Breach on the screen. I think that card's just worth talking about right now, since right now it seems like TJ is pretty close to winning, just shy over like the lightning bolts and stuff this turn. If Underworld Breach wasn't getting suppressed slightly by the Sanctifier, in fact, this would be a kill more than likely from TJ's side, because 3 lightning bolts going upstairs with all those connives might have been enough to take out Joey this turn, but luckily for him, the cards are getting exiled from the ability from the Sanctifier.
Looks like we're just shortcutting bauble, activate, replay, escape, So I think that die is telling us how many bauble draws TJ has on Joey's upkeep.
Okay, so we get a hit for 5 and then draw 5 cards. Pretty good for a 2-mana enchantment.
Now, if I'm Joey, I might be interested in sacking the canyon with those bauble triggers on the stack.
All right, we need to make sure that the Breach does get removed from the table and put into the exile zone.
That looks like 4 red creatures and nothing else good. That is a Rift Bolt.
Upstairs? Game.
That'll do it.
Why draw 5 cards when you can simply throw a burn spell at your opponent's dome? Smart guy, draw 5 card. Burn guy, kill you.
Yeah, and it really, the Sanctifier, keeping those bolts out of the graveyard was super important.
Yeah.
I do believe that would have been lethal for TJ.
Well, also the Deflecting Palm and the Lightning Helix, right? Those all gained virtual life points to prevent the lightning bolts and the attacks from the Ledger Shredders from being lethal.
Had 2 Helixes, Deflecting Palm, and 2 Boros Charms.
Helices.
All of the best possible burn spells there for Joey in order to, win what was ultimately a pretty tight race.